Alright, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Promise back at you with some more StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm replay casts. I am so excited to cast this game, guys. You do not know how happy I am to even get my hands on these kinds of replays. I've been contacting pros, I've been emailing people, I've been looking on many different websites for replay packs and just some pro players to really start to look into their strategies and really, start to understand your thinking process in Heart of the Swarm. So this is going to be a great game. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's go ahead and introduce who we have playing. We are going to have in the bottom right side, representing Root Gaming, it is going to be ROOTMInigun. Of course, his opponent in the upper left side, from the team LG-IM, a GSL champion many times. I guess he's kind of the grandpa Zerg of Korea. A little bit of a reference there with Right Raw. But it's going to be our blue Zerg player. It is LG-IMNesTea. So we have ourselves a nice little Zerg versus Protoss. Quite honestly, that's kind of the matchup I've been enjoying the most in Heart of the Swarm. I do a lot of show match casts. I do a lot of... what else do I do? I do a lot of King of the Hill stuff. So I've been watching a lot. And ZVP is kind of the matchup I'm very interested in for many reasons. One of the reasons is, of course... it's kind of changed the dynamic of the matchup. You would see Zerg players in Wings of Liberty, Turtle on 4 on 5 bases, go straight up to Broodlords, Infestors, and Corruptors, and really kind of piss off the Protoss because they cannot engage in that army. So it's a little bit different now for Heart of the Swarm. Protoss speaking, you see a lot of them opening double Stargate, doing a lot of Phoenix Harass, and transitioning into an extremely difficult air army for Zerg players to deal with. Now, the air army, you guys might be wondering, what does it consist of? When do you usually get it? Do you attack? Do you not attack? Well, it's mainly Void Rays, Tempests. Very rarely do you see a lot of Phoenix. I mean, you see the Phoenix in the early game, but you don't really see it in the later stages because a lot of Protoss players just like to, send in those additional resources into Void Rays. But that being said, you see a lot of Archons and Templar too. In the late game for PvZ. So we'll see what Minigun decides to do. Of course, he is playing against NesTea. I'm pretty sure a lot of us in this game would give a little bit of a slight advantage to NesTea. Maybe he has a little bit more experience. He definitely has better results to Minigun. But Minigun is a fantastic North American Protoss. It's definitely going to be a very fun and exciting match for us to cast. Now, let's talk build order-wise so far. It looks like Minigun going for the Forge first. I don't blame him. I mean... he probably, I'm not going to say he's nervous, but he probably wants to play as safe as possible. And good choice, Minigun, going for the Forge first. We're going to have a little bit of early pressure being done here by NesTea. He's going to go ahead and kill the probe. Not a big deal, though. Minigun definitely on top of it. We'll be able to get the pylon here at the natural. I mean, if those Lings, guys, if those Lings run in the main base and start killing these probes, that's basically GG from Protoss. I've actually seen quite a few high-ranked players on the ladder. When they have Lings in their main, they GG and they leave because it's not really worth playing. You get delayed gas, you get a delayed cybernetics core, and your tech is just really slowed down. But Minigun definitely, very good job, I guess, by Minigun for not letting that happen. So NesTea right now just going to go up to this gasless 3-hatch, pretty standard in Zerg versus Protoss, to be quite honest. Sometimes you can see a lot of Zergs, or not a lot, but quite a few, go for an extractor just to get metabolic boost and really start to control the map with speed links. Control watchtowers, possibly do a few counterattacks. You even see some Zerg players just camp a few Lings in this area to go ahead and get a little bit of scouting information. His opponent chrono boosting +1. Is he chrono boosting his gateway? What is he doing? All of that stuff is very valuable information in Heart of the Swarm. So Minigun, we're going to start seeing a little bit of pressure here from our Protoss. He has a Zealot. He's also getting a Stalker in the production tab. We're also seeing that Mothership Core being chrono boosted out. Of course, this is one of the new units introduced for Protoss in Heart of the Swarm. You have a recall ability, you have the Photon Overcharge, and you also have the Time Warp, which is what a lot of Protoss players use in the early stages here against Zerg. So Minigun's now going to show the Zealot. NestT looks like he sees this, but he's not really reacting too much into it. He's just making drones, getting his Overlords, 54 supply to 54. So a little bit of a supply blockage here by NestT, but now we're going to see the pressure coming out from Minigun, moving towards the third. NestT is going to pull some drones. Queen is even going to come here to do a little bit of help, going to try to focus down the Stalker, of course. Really good job here by NestT to go ahead and use the Queens to focus down the AoE damage of this army. Of course, the Zealot, you can micro against it. Of course, Queens are not the best option, but here we go. Minigun still continuing to be very, very aggressive. Now it's going to be 2 Stalkers and 1 Zealot. The Mothership Core is going to get focused down a little bit here by the Queens, but NestT is actually losing quite a bit. Workers lost 1. That's not so much, but this is definitely really, really good pressure here being done by Minigun. Meanwhile, he is taking a 3rd expansion so fast. Oh my god, Minigun. This is such a greedy 3rd, but NestT sees this. He has the Overlord in position, so he has quite a few options. He can make some lings and possibly do some pressure to really keep Minigun kind of on his toes, but he can also play it a little bit greedy himself. Maybe throw down a 4th, maybe double expand, and really start to focus very, very heavily on his economy. Now let's compare workers count. 51 drones to 46 probes. NestT went ahead and grabbed his 1st and 2nd gas. He's getting metabolic boost. 7 more drones in the production tab. Tech-wise for Minigun, it's going to be... okay, it's going to be Robotics Facility and Twilight Council. Okay. That's quite interesting. And I don't really blame Minigun for going for this pretty quick Robotics Facility. A lot of times in ZVP, you would see a lot of Zergs go for Roach Hydras off of 3 base. And the answer to that as a Protoss, you need to get Colossus on the map as quickly as possible. If you don't have Colossus, if you don't have a huge gateway army, you are going to be in some trouble. So Minigun definitely wanting to get this Colossus tech possibly very, very soon. It's going to go ahead and finish. Actually, the Twilight Council is going to finish this Robotics Facility very, very close to finishing now. Back home for NestT. It's Aspire, man. I'm not surprised at all to see this coming out from NestT. In all of the matchups, NestT loves his Mutalisks, and I can guarantee you, going into this game, Minigun has probably watched quite a few games of GSL, knowing a little bit of the style of NestT. He knows that there's a possibility of Mutalisks, going for Blink, continuing to be active on his upgrades, getting his +1 weapons, which is very much near completion, getting a Robotics Bay. So we're possibly going to be seeing a Colossus transition here very, very soon from Minigun. But NestT, you know, once these Mutalisks pop out, he is going to be controlling this game. And, you know, Minigun, it's going to be up to him to defend it. I mean, his Blink's going to finish. That's going to help tremendously. So definitely a very good choice here by Minigun. Let's compare supply. 93 supply for Minigun. 103 for NestT. NestT going to start to go to work on these rocks, and that's perfectly fine. NestT is actually even going to double expand. Pretty standard when you see a lot of Zergs opening Mutalisks. You want to be spamming hatcheries all over the map. So he's going to be on 5 bases here very shortly. We're going to see a little bit of a push out by Minigun. That's not a lot of units. 7 Stalkers, 5 Sentries, and a Mothership Core. Of course, this Mothership Core is going to be crucial. He does not want any Queens or any Mutalisks focusing this down because he's not going to be able to recall. And this is basically the army right now for Minigun. He's going to focus down that destructible rock, of course. NestT wanted to kill it, so there wouldn't be any kind of attack coming here from the Protoss. But here we go. Minigun going to make his way towards the 3rd. What does NestT have? Mutalisks are out. 12 Mutas, 13 Lings. He needs to get these Mutas to that 3rd expansion. Minigun's going to focus down that hatchery. It is all the way down to 470 health. And NestT actually... okay, NestT is actually going to let it die. Okay, so that's going to die. And actually, NestT is going to go for a counterattack. So more Mutalisks in the production tab. Has a good amount of Lings as well. 73 drones. It's a pretty good number. Now we're going to see the Mutas here make their way towards the natural expansion. Going to start to focus down that cannon. Minigun needs to warp in some Stalkers. He's going to go ahead and recall back home. Great job by Minigun. Blink has completed. And just like that, NestT is going to go ahead and just run back home, realizing that his opponent has quite the amount of units. Has a good amount of Stalkers. He has pretty good upgrades. And the important part here is he has the mobility with Blink. Okay, Minigun going up to 3 Stargates. That's going to be a lot of air, man. This is really looking like it's going to be that air transition that I was talking about earlier. 3 Stargates. That's going to be a lot of Void Rays, a lot of Tempests. He's actually adding on some Gateways as well. But now, at this point in the game, Minigun's controlling the map. Actually, Warp Prism going to get caught here, so nice pick off there by NestTea. Not going to have any Warp-ins, no DTs, no Zealots, none of that shenanigans to go ahead and, you know, abuse the economy of NestTea in the early stages. Stargates are very close to finishing. Still seeing the upgrades continuing to roll out for Minigun. NestTea, ooh, a little bit of a mistake there by NestTea. About 4 Mutalisks being caught in the middle of the map. Minigun will be able to pick those off. This army getting slowly but surely very, very scary. And the fleet beacon in the production tab. This is going to be so cool for Minigun. I'm really interested to see how he's going to make this air transition. If he's going to be able to hold on against any push from NestTea, he should be in a pretty good position for making that transition into Void Rays and into Tempests. But NestTea, of course, not going to let that happen. Already up to 91 drones. I would love to see him retake this expansion. Okay, he's going to do just that. So nice job there by NestTea. Hatchery going down. Mutalisks number are getting pretty high. 27 Mutalisks on the map right now for NestTea. 176 supply to 159. He's going to swing his way towards the natural expansion. Going to focus down to cannon. Minigun making Phoenix, getting that range as well. But these Mutalisks, that's a lot of Mutalisks. Going to try to focus down these Stalkers. 3 Stalkers not going to be enough, Minigun. You definitely need more Stalkers to go ahead and deal with these Mutalisks. But what has me worried for NestTea is he's still on layer tech. He's still making Mutalisks. He's still making Zerglings. You know, at this stage, usually you would see Zerg players go up to Hive. Sometimes you see, you know, a Mutaling Baneling transition into Ultralisk, Infester. Of course, Roach Hydra would just be a terrible choice now against a Colossus Space army. But these Mutas still continuing to do their job, picking off yet another Warp Prism. Really nice creep spread so far being shown here by NestTea, continuing to get it towards the side of Minigun. But Minigun also very close to maxing out. Has a good amount of minerals. Of course, all of that gas is being dumped into this air army. What is the air so far? 13 Phoenix. And he's still... Okay, he actually did get the range upgrade. A little bit of an attack going on here between NestTea and Phoenix. Of course, Phoenix outrange these Mutalisks. So NestTea knows, hey, buddy, I'm going to go ahead and leave. And Minigun... not going to let that happen. He's actually going to chase his Mutas, and all of a sudden, NestTea is going to be back in this corner. Minigun going to go ahead and control these Phoenixes very nicely. All of these Mutalisks are going to fall. And this is what I'm talking about, man. NestTea showing he likes Mutalisks, but really, really committing to it. And now we're going to see Corruptors. So that's a good option to go ahead and deal with these Phoenix. We're still seeing 3 more Phoenix in the production tab. Another Warp Prism on the way for Minigun to go ahead and do some more economic damage. Continuing to get his upgrades, getting his air weapons level number 2, so a little bit of an upgrade advantage is going to be in the favor of Minigun, and NestTea is just expanding all over the place. Okay, so, you know, who's ahead at this stage in the game? You know, Minigun's army is definitely going to be very, very hard to deal with. NestTea is just on Mutas, Lings, and Corruptors. That is not going to do anything against this many Gateway units and that many Phoenix. Of course, Minigun has a Colossus too. Okay, yeah, 1 Colossus on the map for Minigun. So that should be able to easily clean up 24 Zerglings. But now we're still seeing that transition. We're seeing Void Rays in the production tab. NestTea right now. That hatchery gonna fall down. So Minigun still continuing to be very, very map aware, warping in these Zealots. Hatchery's gonna die. NestTea needs to get more of a meaty army on the map. He's making more Infestors, still making Mutalisks. I'm not too sure I agree with this. Mutalisks are not going to be the best against Void Rays and Phoenix. Now, he has some Corruptors. Look at the units count for his Corruptor count. He has 11 Corruptors. But I still don't think that's going to be enough. Minigun, you know, with enough Void Rays and enough Phoenix, I feel that this army is not going to do too well against Minigun's army composition. We're still seeing some more Zealot Warpins being done. Minigun all over the map right now, going to warp in as well at the 3rd expansion, going to pick off yet another hatchery. So Minigun is really, really abusing the map with this Warp Prism harass. Warp Prism still in the main base. So good multitasking being shown here by Minigun. Going to warp in 3 Zealots. Going to start to dice away on these drones. NestTea losing quite a few Harvesters, up to 30, down to 79 drones. Of course, 79 is still a pretty high number. But Warp Prism harass being very, very effective for Minigun. And here we go. The center of the army. Minigun going to start to show himself a little bit. Showing the majority of his army, actually his whole army. A lot of Phoenix, a lot of Stalkers, a few Void Rays. picking off some of these creep tumors with that one lone stalker. Minigun going to start to gear up here towards the bottom left side, which would be the 5th expansion of NestTea. NestTea spamming down these spine crawlers, does not want to lose this base. But again, in the main base, more zealots being warped in, trying to focus down yet another hatchery. This would be like the 3rd hatchery that Minigun has cleaned up, and here's that transfuse being done by the Queens. But at the same time, Minigun going to take advantage of this, going to move into that 5th expansion, focusing down this hatchery. I guarantee you, Minigun is going to go ahead and recall the hell out of there. Hatchery goes down, boom, just like that. Minigun really abusing warp prisms and that mothership core ability, and NestTea's in some trouble. NestTea's maxed, he has a good amount of minerals, doesn't have so much gas, but what we have to compare is the army compositions. It's just it's just Mutalisk, Corruptors. Upgrades for the Mutas 2-1, pretty good upgrades so far for NestTea. Upgrades for these Phoenixes for Minigun is +2 weapons. So with this many Stalkers and the Void Rays, this army still should win against the army composition of NestTea. Now we're seeing those Tempests in the production tab. That is the unit that outranges everything in life, guys, and that's actually quite a bit of mutas. 40 Mutalisks out on the map for NestTea. Actually, this might turn the tide around in his favor, but still, I would still give a little bit of an advantage to Minigun. NestTea gonna be able to pick off this Nexus. Minigun making the smarter choice. Not too many Phoenix, actually, to be able to deal with these Mutalisks, but the Tempests are what I'm thinking, guys. I smell some Tempests for Minigun. 2 Tempests already on the map. Minigun adding more gateways back home. Still continuing to be very, very aggressive, even as a carrier. That's kind of cool. So that one lone carrier might be the hero. 1 kill so far. Maybe it'll get a few more in the later stages of the game. Okay, so let's look at some numbers. Economy, 70 drones to 53. Quite a bit of work is lost for NestTea. Income for him, 1,400 to 920 of Minigun. And the upgrades still actually favoring a little bit here for Minigun. Now we're still seeing more Void Rays being produced, some Phoenix actually, and taking another Nexus. So Minigun's going to be on 4 bases once again. Of course, he wants to remake this Nexus, does not want to just stay on 3 base and kind of hit an all-in mode where if he loses his army, that's going to be GG. This army, how do you deal with this? You definitely need Corruptors. Maybe you need some Infestors, and actually NestTea making Infestors and Corruptors. Still flying around these Mutalisks. They're going to be right there. I don't know if he... Oh my god, all the Mutas are clumped up, and Minigun's going to get the greatest storms ever, and all of this is going to fall down. But again, Minigun's losing a lot of these Phoenix, but these Mutalisks die so quickly, all the way down to 2 Mutalisks. NestTea was maxed with mutas. Now he's down to 107 supply. Minigun with a huge supply advantage in the production tab. 76 Zerglings from NestTea. I am not too sure Zerglings are really going to do anything against this. We're still seeing more Stalkers are being warped in right now for Minigun. Continuing with his upgrades. Continuing making these Phoenix, these Tempests, of course. Sick amount of kills, 6 and 3. Minigun so close to taking out a GSL champion. Lings are going to go ahead and swarm in. Going to try to focus down these Archons and that Colossus. These Lings are actually doing quite a bit of damage. But it's the army, man. Look at this army of Minigun. Corruptors are going to come out. They're going to try to, eliminate a few of these Void Rays. These Stalkers are going to get warped in. Minigun continuing to kill these bases off. Of course, NestTea not mining from this 5th. This expansion basically completely mined out, but Minigun, man, just go for the kill. You got this, Minigun. You're ahead by supply. Your army is so much bigger than your opponent. NestTea, man, I still think he's stuck to Mutalisks for way too long. He's going to have a good amount of Corruptors. 14 Corruptors. Going to have 9 more in the production tab, but I feel like this is going to be it right now. NestTea is going to try to focus down these Phoenix, but that is just so much still remaining for Minigun. The Colossus actually making a little bit of a debut, running straight into the Corruptors, and that's it. GG being called out by NestTea. Very, very cool game by Minigun. Really showing us the air transition in PvZ with Tempests, with Void Rays. Great use of the Mothership Core going into his opponent's expansions, picking off hatcheries, and getting the head out of there. So, getting the head out of there? Wow. Getting the hell out of there. It's been a long day, guys, but I am glad that I was able to cast this game. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. That's going to conclude it for this cast. Stay safe, good luck, and have fun.